short introduction. Hello, Pete. Was not planned at all to have this conversation, but since we are here in La Roche in France, it would be nice if we could talk a bit about Bill Keith. So.
And you just helped me speak French. I have this little bit of French, and you really helped me with my workshop. And we started talking about Bill Keith, and he meant a lot to both of us. I practically worshipped him when I was in my late teens and learning to play, and the New Camptown Races break in particular just amazed me. But I was also trying to learn melodic style as soon as he started playing it in front of people, and then I was amazed that he was very friendly. It was easy to get to know him a little bit. And over the years, my wife and I would travel to Woodstock from Ithaca, New York, and we'd stay at his house, and we would jam a little bit, and he was always into interesting things. I remember in New York City, he showed me that if you got some cornstarch in a bowl, did you ever hear about this? You get cornstarch in a bowl, and then you pour some water on it, and then you put your finger in it, and it sinks in, and it kind of absorbs your finger. And it's not exactly a liquid, but then it sort of becomes solid around your finger. It was just a little thing he knew how to do.
Science man,
yeah, a little bit of science, and also he was into pyramids.
Yeah.
He explained about pyramids a lot, and I would go, "Oh, really?" And I'd get a little sleepy listening to it. And then just various little gizmos, violet ray, I forget what that was, but he was just an inquisitive person, and as far as his banjo style went, though, I just loved the tone that he got, especially on the early records that he played with, on the record with Red Allen and Frank Wakefield, and the amazingly inventive break he came up with on New Camptown Races, which delighted everybody who heard it. It was really different. It was not Scruggs style, and it wasn't fiddle tune style. He called it fiddle tune style. He didn't want to use the term Keith style, as other people were using. And it was just interesting how he could change his roles different ways. And I just played a tune here called Huckling the Berries here at the festival, and it has a I-T-I sequence. And the first lick in New Camptown Races has I-T-I, I-T-I on different strings. And that's not something that Scruggs did. And because he used a little change of notes so that there was a major third followed by a minor third back to the major third. So I was practicing that, and then somehow or another I put a finger down so that the fourth got in there, the first fret of the second string. And I did I-T-I like that with the fourth, and then I took my finger off and it was back to 0-3-0, you might say, on the second and third string.
Yep.
And that was a lick, and I thought, oh, that's a nice lick. And then I did a similar thing on strings 3 and 4, and I had the beginning of one of my very first banjo tunes.
Right.
And it's easy to learn, so I showed it to, I played it on stage live with people when they didn't know it, but it's so easy to follow. We played it with Rapid Crest. We played it once a few days ago, and then they said, well, we have some extra time, and we played Huckling the Berries. And that tune wouldn't have happened without Bill's interesting way of playing that different kind of right hand. And a lot of his right hand was just different from Scruggs. It was more inventive in some ways. I mean, he had very few limitations with his right hand. And Scruggs did not do certain things with his right hand. He avoided certain things. So Bill had this expansive style, and it really showed the way for a lot of us younger players. I'm born in February 1946. I'm like the first month of the baby boom. And there was a lot of baby boomers, and a lot of us were learning to play banjo mostly by ear because there wasn't any Scruggs style tab. And of course, Bill had figured out a lot of that stuff, and he was very nice about making photocopies for people of what later got into the Earl Scruggs book. And I just had to explain, unfortunately, I asked him, why did you say that he slides to 4 on the 3rd string? I asked him this sometime, and he said, that's how I learned how to play, is I could hear the notes, but I had no idea what he was doing. And when I heard him slide up on the third string, he assumed it was going to the fourth fret, but it wasn't. And you can see this on the videos there are of Scruggs, because Earl would kill the note at the third fret and then play the second string. So he was only playing one B note instead of the unison B, which was not exactly a unison. And I asked him why he did that, and he said, well, that's I was just trying to figure out Scruggs style, and I made that mistake. And then the mistake got into the first edition of the book. By the time there was a second edition, they had had a big falling out, and but they maintained that error. So I tell people, you have to realize there's some errors in the book. And but on the other hand, what a great service he did, because when Earl was first asked to do a book, he said, this can't be written down. He had no idea it could be written down. And every time he played something, he played differently. Yeah. So it wasn't like classical music where every note is known for sure. The way we talk is like that, because you can say the same thing 10 different ways with almost the same words, and that's, Earl would say, well, I don't play Foggy Mountain Breakdown the same every single time. And I would tell him, well, thanks to your book, a lot of people only know it one way, and they think that's the only way. It's like classical music. But anyway, I got to know Bill, and he was a funny guy. He was into puns, and just he was eccentric. You know, I know you know that, and anybody who got to know him, and he met a lot of people. He liked meeting people, and it was unusual that somebody so respected was easy to talk to for almost anybody. And he liked teaching, doing workshops. And I'll try to think of some other little stories about him that I remember. Oh yeah, I was telling you before. I was visiting him in the Boston area. It was before he moved to Woodstock. And he said, you know, the Grateful Dead is in town, and you know Jerry Garcia, don't you? And I had met Jerry when I was 17 and Jerry was 20. It was before the Grateful Dead. So I was friends with Jerry, and he said, I'd really like to meet Bill Keith. Or no, Bill said, I'd really like to meet Jerry Garcia. And Jerry was one of the first people I knew to really play Bill's style, the melodic style. He was really into it. He practiced a lot. So when I first met Jerry, he was one of the first people who could play good melodic style banjo. And, but he never had met him. And they never had met each other, but they knew a lot about each other. So when we got to the club where the Grateful Dead was, kind of a small concert hall, this was before the Grateful Dead got extremely popular. But I was at the front, and I said, can Jerry Garcia come up to the front? He's my friend, and I wanted to see him. So Jerry came to the front, and I said, Jerry, meet Bill Keith. And they were so happy to meet each other. And then Jerry looked at the guy who was taking tickets. He was wanting to charge us, and Jerry says, let these guys in, they're musicians. And I thought, I'm like Bill Keith, I'm a musician, you know. And so I was very honored that way. And I used to see him with the Jim Kweskin Jug Band, and he did a great job playing all those chords in their jug band music, and I liked that a lot. But I also felt a little bad that he was now abandoning bluegrass, because he was the best guy out there at the time. And then when he went to pedal steel, of course, he was tremendous on the pedal steel. He played great. But I thought, well, we lost an important banjo player. So I was very happy when he came back to it. And I did workshops with him sometimes, and even down near the end of his life, we played together in Prague in 2013, and he was very proud that he could speak French fluently, and people said he even speaks good French slang. And I thought, well, that's pretty impressive. And he was a one of a kind. I was very sorry that he and Earl had a big falling out, because the two of them both had such a high, they did so much for the banjo, and I would have rather think of them as friends, but that failed to happen, unfortunately. And You know, I was friends with both of them, so I wish they could have somehow had a good friendship as long as they both lived, but that wasn't to be. But when my wife and I, we've been married, we've been together 56 years, so we knew Bill Keith for a long time when we lived in New York State, and I just treasure my time with him. He was a very interesting man and good-hearted person.
Thank you very much, Pete. That's great.